All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I see you guys are joining in. While we wait for more people to join, go ahead and drop in the chat and let us know where you guys are tuning in from. I am here in Atlanta, Georgia. Is there anybody else coming in from Atlanta? Make sure you drop us a line in the chat and then we'll get started shortly. Welcome. I see more people joining us coming in from Dallas, Texas, and New York. I see Atlanta coming through. Atlanta always represents St. Louis. Johanna, we got some St. Louis constituents coming in. North Carolina, New Jersey, more Atlanta, Cincinnati. You guys are coming from all over. I love this. DC, more we got some more Missouri Mafia attendees coming in. I love to see that St. Louis representation, more DC. Absolutely. Well, we're definitely excited to have you guys joining us from all over the United States. So we're glad to have you guys here and want to go ahead and get started. So for those of you all joining us, welcome and good afternoon. My name is Sherelle Bailey, and I'm the Director of Events for ITSMF. And I'm truly excited to welcome you all to our first 2024 State of the Community Address. As you all know, ITSMF's mission is to increase the representation of Black professionals at senior levels in technology to impact organizational innovation and growth. And we do this by developing and nurturing these dynamic leaders through enrichment of the mind, body, and soul. And what better way for you all to see and understand the work that ITSMF does and is committed to doing than hearing from our very own leaders. So today you have the pleasure of hearing from our very own President and CEO, Johanna Jones, and our newly elected board chair, Ibrahim Jackson, where between them, they'll provide us an overview of some of our accomplishments over time, some challenges we faced, but most importantly, what lies ahead of us. And then we'll also have an opportunity to engage with you all. So we'll also have Q&A at the end. But this event is also a celebration. It's a celebration of you all and your dedication as members, as partners, as supporters of ITSMF, and how your passion has had a positive impact on our organization. Together, we're not just building an organization, we're cultivating a thriving community that stands as a beacon of resilience, support, and positive change. So before we get started with things, I want to make sure we have some time to hear really quickly from Johanna and Ibrahim. So I want to invite them forward. So welcome, Johanna. Welcome, Ibrahim.
Good afternoon, family.
It's my family. Hello, everyone. We are checked in.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you guys for taking the time out for doing this today. Wanted to take this moment. Want you guys to just give a quick preview to our attendees about some of the things that you guys will be discussing today in your address. And then also would ask you, want to know what your why is. And I want to pose this question to our virtual attendees as well. So Johanna, you've been with ITSMF about 2.5 years now. Ibrahim, you've been engaged with ITSMF about 17 years now. So for you all and our audience that's tuning in virtually, drop us a line in the chat. Let us know what your why is. Why is the work that you're doing with ITSMF so important? What is it that gets you geared up about the work that you do? Johanna, let's start with you.
Absolutely. I am a people investor. Nothing inspires me more or energizes me more than being able to listen, encourage, support, mobilize resources to help other leaders achieve their highest potential and live their dreams. The fact that every day I get to hear directly from our family and our community about how ITSMF is contributing to their success as leaders is absolutely my why.
Thank you. I love that, Johanna. What about you, Ibrahim?
Oh, I'm glad you asked the question. For me, it's full circle. You know, in 2007, I can't believe it's been 17 years already.
Wow.
I was welcomed into ITSMF, and I just remember walking into the room and saying, "Oh my God, there are people that look like me, that do what I do, that are better than me, and are willing to help." And so for me, this is full reciprocity, making sure that we're able to continue to lift each other up, that we're always looking into the next generation of folks that would love to be in a position that we're in. And yeah, really just, continuing to work with Johanna as well, the management team and the board to really take us to new heights and really, grab the opportunity that's sitting right in front of us. So that's really my why.
Absolutely. And Ibrahim, what are some things that you're going to plan to address today to our attendees?
Sure, sure. Today, I intend to speak a bit about how we'll be a governing board. That'll be first and foremost. We'll talk about how we intend to grow our community, how we'll look to leverage the resources that we have in an optimal way, and then also to make sure that, just as, again, from the board perspective, to ensure that we are operating within compliance and being ethical in how we operate the organization. And then Johanna and I will get into some fun Q&A. And then obviously we'd love to hear from the community. What is it that they're looking for? What can Johanna and I do to make the organization better, to make our ecosystem better, and really just drive value into the market?
Thank you. Thank you. And Johanna, do you want to give us a couple of tidbits of some things that you'll be touching on today?
Absolutely. We'll share a few of our highlights from 2023. The management team and board are embarking on a 3-year strategic plan. So I'll share a few early highlights of where we're going over the next 3 years and our priorities for 2024. And I will share a little bit about how we as a community must work together to achieve forward progress with the organization, and maybe drop a few hints on some exciting announcements that will come out at S1 2024 in March 14th, 15th, and 16th in Atlanta. I'll drop a few early hints, but can't spill the beans on everything.
All right. Well, that is exciting. And so, Johanna, that was a perfect segue because you are actually up next. And so I think our attendees are also excited to hear more about what you have to say. So let's go ahead. And Johanna, you have the floor.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good afternoon, family. It is absolutely a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. 2023, we answered the challenge. We as an organization had a tremendously successful year. Thank you to ITSMF's management team, board, you as our members, you as our partners, you as our community. We led 170 leaders through the Leaders of Color program and graduated 170 powerful leaders into the next phase of their destiny. We welcomed over 100 members into the ITSMF family, reaching our goal of nearly 500 members in ITSMF. Through our Global Institute for Professional Development, we graduated 180 leaders through our academies, and we expanded GIPD to include our brand new Ignite Academy for entrepreneurs, our board-bound academy for aspiring board directors. In addition to that, we supported 100 college students through our college mentoring program. And in addition to that, we were invited to the White House to provide early comments on the White House Office of Cybersecurity strategy for increasing cybersecurity enrollment, professionals, and job placement. We were invited to provide some early comments on that. And we raised over $250,000 for the ITSMF Foundation, a record in our organization's history. So in 2023, we answered the challenge, but 2024 is off to an absolutely roaring start. We have some ambitious goals that I am looking forward to sharing with you. some early highlights of those. But most importantly, I want you to know that we can do none of this without you. It is through our joint partnership and our relationship that we are going to achieve forward progress. And I want you to know that there are times when we can't afford to sit back and wait for permission. There are times when we have to charge boldly forward as leaders. And our theme for 2024 is forward progress. And it is because we are seeing those times right now. Many of you, some of you might know that at the end of 2023, we welcomed my 82-year-old mother into our home. And I frequently have conversations with her when I need inspiration to get through challenging times, and when I want her advice and her experience, her vast experience, to help frame some of the things that we're going through. We are a community of geniuses. And as a community of geniuses, we're in this unique period. I liken it to a technology revolution. We are technology revolutionaries. And I believe that this is not just an organization, this is a movement. And through a recent conversation with my mother, I was able to gain some insights on what other movement leaders, what other revolutionaries have experienced, how they cast vision, how they navigate through challenging times, and how they mobilize the base. Recently, I sat down with my mother, and she told me for the first time that she was a part of the 1963 lunch counter sit-ins that were led by the historical leader Medgar Evers in Mississippi. My mother was a college student at Jackson State in 1963 when Medgar Evers, who was leading the desegregation of public lunch counters, was killed. My mother led a small group of college students on a march from Medgar Evers' home, from the college to Medgar Evers' home. And what started out as a handful of college students, as they marched progressively towards Medgar Evers' home, the small group became a larger group and a larger group, each joining the march because of their common stories and their belief in the mission and the goal of desegregation. By the time they reached Murley Evers, who was standing on the porch at the home, the small group became a crowd. And Murley, according to my mother, was so overwhelmed by the size of the group, she couldn't get her words out. But this crowd began sharing their stories, their common history, their common belief in the power of the movement. And she never did have many words to say during that time because she was so mesmerized by the size of the group. What I take from that story that truly came at the right moment was the power of what a small group of people with common beliefs and common goals can do, and how powerful it is when that small group becomes a larger group and we continue to make forward progress towards our goal. Amazing things can happen when we join together with people that believe as we believe, and we are aligned and in sync towards our goals. We have a multiplier effect, and small goals become larger goals, and our impact becomes larger. And that's exactly where we are with ITSMF. We have some bold goals that we're putting out over the next 3 years. We want to increase membership to 1,000 leaders. But most importantly, we want a membership of 1,000 to feel exactly like it did when we were 100 members. We want the connectivity to feel exactly like it did when we were 14 members. We want to increase the number of graduates through our academies to 1,000 annual leaders over the next 3 years. We want to largen our impact, and we want to increase our revenue to $10 million to expand our impact and properly secure resources to achieve our ultimate mission and vision for this organization. When I asked Bard, what is the impact of having 1,000 Black technology executives in the C-suite in Fortune 500 companies? According to Bard, that will potentially increase gross domestic product to potentially $1.2 to $1.5 trillion by having 1,000 Black tech executives in the C-suite in Fortune 500 companies. The power of our impact, of course, is economic. Of course, it's about inclusivity. Of course, it's about diversity. But in addition to that, we have the ability to build generational wealth by creating more role models. We have the ability to chart the course for the future of technology leadership, and we are doing just that. Recently, I was reading articles about the top 3 skills that the tech executive must have for the future. One of those, of course, was about data management, data fluency, and analysis. Another powerful skill that the tech leader of the future must have, of course, is about knowledge and understanding and the ability to deploy emerging technologies. And thirdly, communication and storytelling. After reading and studying, we at ITSMF are using these top 3 skills as a part of our strategy going forward. Number 1, our priorities for 2024 are about continuing to increase and expand our Global Institute for Professional Development by supporting talent retention, talent attraction, talent development in new and exciting ways. We are going to continue to expand our Global Institute for Professional Development by doubling the size of Emerge in 2024. We'll be doubling the size of our Management Academy in 2024, continuing to support our very successful board-bound academy and adding additional supports and resources into that program, continuing to expand and support our Ignite programming for entrepreneurs. But importantly, we must elevate and increase our brand and our reputation. We want ITSMF to be the go-to for thought leadership in technology. We are a community of geniuses, and it's about time the rest of the world knew and understood the power of the talent in our ecosystem. We want to expand our market reach and reach all the leaders that need to know us that don't know about us yet. We want to increase our media visibility, and we have amazing strategies that we'll be deploying this year that I'm looking forward to launching to invest in our reputation and our brand and our marketing. Third, increasing data analysis, data management, and storytelling. We'll be launching an engagement portal for our members, and we'll be launching and deploying new CRM tools to help us not only engage our members, but do a better job of telling our story through quantitative impact. And last but not least, expanding resources for our members. Not only will we be supporting members through a membership engagement portal that will be for members only, but we will be adding innovative resources to support our members that are unique to ITSMF. And we'll be continuing to explore new offerings to support the growth of our members on their path to the C-suite. These are just 4 of the strategies that we'll be deploying in 2024. I also wanted to highlight some of the rationale behind our fee increases, which is also something that we communicated at the end of 2023, but we are launching in 2024. We are, as many of you already know, increasing our membership dues. We are increasing our ticket prices, and we are increasing our tuition for Global Institute for Professional Development. We would not do this without thoughtful deliberation and painstaking consideration of how this impacts the family. We held focus groups, but this project was launched by a team of professionals through donated volunteer hours that we received from top executives at BNY Mellon. They led us on a project over months to understand more about our value, understand more about our costs, and make sure that we can align our value and our expenses with our revenue. So we would not have done this if it were not necessary. ITSMF, like many of your companies, we are experiencing a number of factors that require us to increase our fees. One, we are a 27-year-old organization, but many parts of our infrastructure and our operations are like a startup. And like startups that are positioned for rapid growth, it's important that you resource them and that the resources align with the growth in your strategies for impact. So it's important that everything from investing in data to investing in the best and the brightest talent is critical to ensure that growth. In addition to that, we're experiencing the need for investment in our business processes. Everything from increased cybersecurity threats makes it critical for us to invest in technology, policies, and procedures to ensure that we're able to continue and have strong business continuity plans and address potential ever increasing threats. In addition to that, increased competition. We must reinvent ourselves, realign, and continue to increase resources as we address a more crowded field in our space. And finally, inflation. So I share this information to let you know that it is critically important to us that you understand the rationale behind these changes and that it does not deter you from continuing to invest and support in ITSMF. Our forward progress is all about tenacity, passion, and momentum. And we can only get there with you. One, as continuing to be dues paying members, we need you to pay your dues and sponsor other new members to pay their dues. We need you to continue to mentor our college mentoring students, mentor our participants and our alums of our Global Institute for Professional Development. We need you to donate your time and your funds to ITSMF. It's also important that you continue to advocate for your company to be a sponsor of ITSMF. If your organization is not a sponsor of an event, if your organization is not a grant donor, if your organization is not a corporate partner, I challenge you to bring your organization into the family in 2024. It's important that you continue to meet with other members and open doors of opportunity, especially aligning opportunities that are within your sphere of influence to support our entrepreneurs as we strive to build our $3 million ecosystem for entrepreneurs. We can do more than that if you are committed to meeting with our members and our entrepreneurs. In addition to that, it's important that now we reach out to our members in transition, offer encouragement, offer resources, make introductions. That is now more important than ever in this season. And finally, become an ambassador. Make sure that your network is aware of your involvement with ITSMF. Make sure that you're following us on social media, that you're resharing, and everybody who knows you knows about ITSMF and our mission and how you are involved with that. And finally, we are challenging you to help with forward progress, with tenacity, with passion and momentum. And as we boldly charge forward to build an ecosystem of 1,000 leaders, poised, ready, shovel ready to address ever increasing jobs and growth in technology, we cannot achieve this without tenacity. As we work to ensure that the future of the technology workforce is robust and that we're continuing to grow leaders and develop them for C-suite positions, we cannot do this without passion. And as we continue to make sure that we are generating generational wealth building opportunities, we cannot do this without your momentum. It is an absolute pleasure to lead this organization into the future. I am so excited about the direction that we are going in, but you are our number one resource and a catalyst for change. And it is my absolute pleasure to be able to introduce you to our current board chair, Mr. Ibrahim Jackson, President and CEO of Ubiquitous Preferred Services. And I have a few things to say about how excited I am for Ibrahim to take the helm. One, Ibrahim, it is not lost on me the fact that you are taking the helm at this inflection in the growth of your organization. The last year has been powerful for Ubiquitous. Number one, you joined the Forbes Council, the Forbes Business Council, and you still committed your time and your talent and your treasure to ITSMF. You were recently acknowledged by the NY PACE as an entrepreneur on the move, and that did not slow down your commitment for ITSMF. Over the past year, you co-authored Office Shock, and all along, you did not slow down your commitment to this organization. I remember meeting you 2.5 years ago and walking away saying, this is a brilliant dude. And I have to share one more Ibrahim story. So not only are you brilliant, but you have amazing discipline. So about 2.5 years ago, we had a board retreat, and we, have a weekend and 2.5 days of meetings and charting the future and looking back on our data. And Ibrahim says, before we leave town, why don't we have a chat and meet for coffee, meet for breakfast? So I said, great. What time do you get up in the morning? And he's like, what time do I get up in the morning, or what time do you want to meet? And I say, well, I'm an early riser. What time do you get up in the morning? And he's like, well, I'll be up at 4:30 going to the gym. And this is a Saturday. I'm like, Ibrahim, you're up at 4:30 on a Saturday going to the gym? So 2.5 years later, I see how that discipline that he has not only makes him a powerful leader, and not only is responsible for helping to grow Ubiquitous, but he takes that same passion and discipline towards his beautiful family. And so I am absolutely excited to partner with you to take this organization to new heights. So with that, I leave you with your esteemed board chair, Mr. Ibrahim Jackson.
Thank you so much, Johanna. I appreciate that. And by the way, family, Johanna surprised me with the stories. I didn't realize she was going to put that up front. So thank you so much. I have to say first, I need to give it up to Michael Buckham White, who has led the board through some really challenging and troubling times over the past 4 years, right? We went into this early 2019, and then 2020, we were hit with a pandemic. We had Viola who transitioned, and I learned so much from Michael on one, how to be gracious, how to show compassion, and really be connected to the family in a way that sometimes, while it's good to have discipline, I can often be a bit rigid with respect to getting results and producing on our end. So thank you, Michael Buckham White, if you are on, for really just helping to groom me and prepare me to be in this position. And thank you to the broader board. I do have some prepared notes that I want to cover to make sure that I don't miss out on anyone. Then I'll take you through strategy. And from there, we'll go into the Q&A between Johanna and I. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you to the entire ITSMF community. That includes our founders, the management team, board of directors, our members, our academy delegates, sponsors, and other supporters. I want to say thank you for entrusting this honorable leadership position in me. Without you, your faith, confidence, and trust, we wouldn't be able to thrive in the way we are today as a community. I believe that we can continue to have an impact in the technology industry by focusing in on what we've done traditionally, which helps to drive many firms' success, as well as some of the newer technologies that are coming forward. At its core, ITSMF is all about family connection, innovation, and diversity. We strive to create an inclusive environment where everyone feels welcomed, valued, and empowered to make a difference. And our goal is to continue to foster growth, development of our members through networking, the education that we provide, as well as mentorship and advocacy. As we move forward into this future of technology, we must build more leaders. We have to keep our pipeline rich and strong so that we can continue to make a significant impact and drive meaningful change. I, as Johanna has shared, I'm overcommitted to working with our board and the management team to achieve these goals, and I'm confident that we will do so together. As chairman, I will collaborate with the board, the management team, provide our members with the best resources and opportunities. I am dedicated to continuing to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging in the technology industry. And I believe that we can bring about real change through our collective efforts. I do encourage all of you that are in the community to get involved and share your ideas, your knowledge, your experiences. Your contributions are essential to the success of ITSMF, and I look forward to each one of you looking at it through the lens of how can each one teach one and enable one to be one. So you can play the recording if you forgot the order in which I provided that. So from a board perspective, you all know that we are operating more as a governing board. What does that mean? One, that Johanna and the team look for us for guidance and a steer to say, what's our North Star? How do we get to the 10 million? How do we ensure that we have 1,000 members, but that we also keep the family spirit? Many of you have been in conferences before where you're saying, okay, I am here, but I know all of 2 people, and I really don't have that connective tissue that I would really like to have from ITSMF. So we need to continue to do that. We're going to focus on the strategic plan and continuing to drive success for the organization. We're also going to look at the succession planning that we have to have in place as a part of our business resiliency. That's making sure that everyone has coverage in the event that we need to make any changes within our management team, within our board, because that's the only way that we can continue to do things. Unfortunately, and I always like to make sure that we acknowledge those of us who have also passed, there are times where, tomorrow's just not guaranteed. And what we want to make sure is that if Ibrahim is no longer available, that you have Dane Banbury who can step right in. And so he and I will continue to be in lockstep to drive value. Rona, as well as Noreen, will continue to drive the operations. And for each one of us, we'll make sure that there's someone that can provide coverage. We'll also look at how do we continue to strengthen our programs and services. So there are some new capabilities that ITSMF is adding to the fold. And I'm not going to give away some of the good news that Johanna has coming up, but that will continue to power and fuel our programs that will help our staff to be better, that will help to better enhance our academies, as well as engage others so that our ecosystem broadens even further. I will say, working with Johanna as well as Zenon, they've done a phenomenal job in ensuring that we are looking at our finances through a business lens, which is quite important, because while we are not for profit, we still have to operate as a business. And I think Zenon does a great job of ensuring that all of those revenues that Cedric and Michael actually go out and pull in, that we're managing those investments in the proper way and ensuring that we're able to enable the students through our scholarships, as well as managing our expenses through our marketing budgets, our operations, et cetera. And then with respect to ensuring that we're compliant and operating with integrity, we all are singing from the same hymn, where we want to make sure that everyone in the community has a rich and an enriching experience. And while, yes, we do party and we enjoy ourselves as family, what we don't want to do is have any instances where people go back to their offices and say, hey, I have some concerns because of fill in the blank. So let's always continue to operate ethically, as well as ensure that we are doing everything within the right parameters. And then lastly, it's all about, and you heard Johanna mention this, it's all about resourcing. We are a community, and sometimes I liken it to church. We don't need the management team to do all of the heavy lifting. And so what we want to avoid is that we have this moment where everything feels like it's so guarded. So we're always going to look out to the community to say, hey, if you have a capability in this space, Johanna ran through some of the new technologies, digital data and analytics, or cybersecurity, or cloud engineering. We may tap on you to say, hey, how can you help us as an organization to make sure that we're operating in the best manner? So I would ask and encourage everyone to continue to connect in with the management team, as well as connect with your board members and help us to navigate these waters, because I'll tell you, it's nothing but greatness ahead. And so with that, I'll say, let's continue to push boundaries, challenge the status quo, and lead by example. I believe that together we can shape a brighter future for the technology industry and create more diverse and inclusive environments. And with that, I'd like to bring Johanna back into the session.
Thank you, Ibrahim. That was absolutely powerful. Absolutely powerful. Now, I believe we have a few minutes to ask each other questions, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to start, or should I?
Yeah, I'll start. So, speaking of getting up at 4:30 a.m., so what inspires you to be so disciplined? Number one, and what's on your playlist at 4:30 a.m.?
Okay, well, let me start with the discipline. So listen, I look, it's family, right? So I attribute the discipline that I have from my dad. My dad, he Army veteran. So thank you for those who have served. We thank you for your service. He is an Army veteran. He was deployed in Germany during Vietnam, and obviously he came back home to a lot of unrest. And while he wasn't a disciplinarian, he taught me discipline, taught me chess, and how it was important to continue to work on yourself in order to be better for others. So I get the discipline from my dad. I get the high energy from my mom. That's the Jamaican side, right? Wagwan. So for my Caribbean massive. In terms of my playlist, it really depends on the day, right? If my stress level is high, then of course I've got hip hop playing. You're going to hear Nas, 50 Cent, and Tribe Called Quest, right? If I'm in a mellow mode, I may actually be listening to a podcast. So I'm a big fan of Masters of Scale, Microsoft Research, etc. And then on other days, I may actually be listening to an audiobook, right? So I may have Shelley Archambault's Unapologetically Ambitious playing, just to continue to reinforce, like, own your own career. It's up to you. Don't blame anybody else. No finger pointing. So that's what my morning consists of.
Absolutely. I would expect nothing less. That makes complete sense. You are the product of an Army veteran, and West Indian descent.
Yes, yes. So let me ask you a question. So we'll go back and forth, Johanna. So you are an amazing woman, an amazing woman. In the 2.5 years, I've watched how you've produced as well as how you've had an appetite to learn and grow and just become what people will say is a phenom. What superpower do you pride yourself on having, and what new quality, skill, or trait are you hoping to foster in the near future?
Wow. Okay. Tough questions, but so one, I would say my superpower, I am a master collaborator, convener, and have the powerful ability to mobilize people towards a common goal. I'll give one quick story that one of my early jobs out of law school, I had to teach. I was an administrator for some federal dollars and had to be able to communicate the purpose and the impact of the dollars on everybody from state senators, state Congress people to public housing residents and get them to authorize and sign off on documents. And the housing authority had been missing out on federal dollars because the residents refused to sign. And I was successfully able to get them to sign off and approve federal dollars that had lapsed for nearly 5 years. And I realized that ability to inspire people towards a common goal, specifically on the behalf of deploying resources to underrepresented people, was my passion and my purpose aligning. What I'm looking forward to is taking business enablement to a new level through entrepreneurship. I really want to be a part of our legacy. My legacy to be about helping to expand and grow our ecosystem for entrepreneurs and having this robust multi-million-dollar ecosystem of capital, professional services, and contractual opportunities for our entrepreneurs that will build generational wealth.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. What question do you have for me?
So I know that you are number one, a proponent of you are consistently talking about this East Coast, West Coast thing, right? And these East Coast leaders and in building our, what do you call it? The borough leaders.
Yeah.
The borough board. Also, yes. What did you say? The borough what?
The borough board.
The borough board. The borough board. But in addition to that, you listen to the futurists.
Yes.
And you are a proponent of the futurists. And what in your own words are the top 3 digital skills that we need to prepare for in the future?
Yeah, so I would say you mentioned several of them previously. So data and analytics, cybersecurity, cloud engineering. Those are the 3, right? Those are the 3 that are out there. What I would say, let's also be mindful of is quantum computing and the impact and implications that that's going to have on what we do. I know everyone is Gen AI'd out right now, and that's what they're doing. Do not count out spatial computing. Some of you call that the metaverse, virtual reality, augmented reality, extended reality. And then a bit more on the STEM track, I would say, look at fuel cell alternatives. That's something to really think about as we begin to look at these electronic vehicles, but also looking at what's happening with space travel as that becomes more commoditized. So that may be a bit further out in the future, but those are ripe opportunities.
Very exciting, very exciting. And I know you spend a lot of time doing digital assessments and going into organizations, learning about what their opportunities are for growth in this space. So very helpful. Thank you.
Certainly, certainly. So I do want to make sure we have time for the community to ask questions. So I'm going to just jump down to the fairy godmother question.
Okay.
Okay, Johanna, you and I, we are attached at the hip.
All right.
And people will probably be surprised how much I bother and nag you, and you're so nice about it too, so graceful. Thinking about,
Glad you think so. Glad you think so.
thinking about your strengths, the resources and support that you have. If your fairy godmother could grant you a wish, including a single action that I could take, what would you choose for Ibrahim to do that would ensure you develop into the person that you're striving to become?
Great question. I have two things. One, continuing to listen. What I learned about you 2.5 years ago at that early morning Saturday breakfast was how great of a listener that you are. And over the past 2 years, you continue to remind me about things that you said. And so I think you can support me by continuing to be a great listener and an even greater listener. Secondly, mobilizing our members. You yourself as a product of ITSMF are a powerful representation of our mission, and you will uniquely, as a corporate exec and a now entrepreneur growing his empire, can tell the story better than anybody else. And I hope that you are able to mobilize our members to new levels of engagement. And
Excellent.
I am looking forward to it all.
As am I.
My last question for you is, what do you want the impact of your legacy to be on ITSMF?
No, thank you. So it hasn't changed. What I would like is that people look back, or when they read my autobiography, or if I'm not here, a biography on me, they'll say, Ibrahim helped the ITSMF family enhance their commitment to lifting up others in our communities, that I was collaborative with our board and management team to make the best decisions that allowed the organization to grow, and that my contributions, priding myself on being a beacon of change, that really serves as a model for others. So that's what I would really like to see my legacy become within ITSMF.
Absolutely. And it will be so.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to bring our esteemed hostess, Sherelle Bailey, back on screen. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for that. That was definitely inspiring for me. Also, as a member of the management team with ITSMF, I can't thank you all enough for taking the time out and talking to all of our members and supporters today. So we're now moving into the portion where we're going to do Q&A from our audience. So those of you all that are tuning in virtually, if you have a question for Ibrahim or Johanna or both, make sure you go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll read your question out loud for them. But before we move into that, I just want to recap some of the things that we talked about today. It was so inspiring. Johanna, you kicked it off with a Black history lesson for us today. And we really appreciate learning more about your family. Johanna, every time you speak, I think we learn a little bit more about your family of history and change makers that you come from. So we really appreciate that. And for that, we know that ITSMF is in good hands for sure. We talked about strategic planning, the importance of succession planning for this organization, not just for our management team, but for our board. I know that that's important for our management team because we're going to continue to grow. If we're looking at 1,000 members, this little team of ours can't do it alone. So we need to make sure that there's some succession planning happening so that we can continue to grow. We talked about, Johanna, you really pressed on our theme for the year, which is forward progress. talking about passion, tenacity, momentum, all of that we're going to be pushing forward this year and going forward. I don't think forward progress stops at the end of 2024 for ITSMF. So really excited about seeing some of the things that we have planned coming into action for ITSMF. We learned about the top 3 skills for tech execs. I think that's not just for executives in technology, but I think for anyone. Johanna, you display an excellent job of the skill of storytelling for sure, and just how important that skill is for some of our leaders. And another thing we talked about that was really important was about opening the doors of opportunity. Not just for ITSMF, but for our members. You talked about members that are in transition, and that's really important right now. So helping some of our members for opportunity in our organization. So as we wait for more questions to come in, I want to kick it off. One thing that I saw, we hear this all the time, and I saw someone that mentioned it earlier about their why. And so we always hear that ITSMF, we went from the best kept secret to the best shared secret. And Ibrahim, you touched on this before about letting go of that secret part of ITSMF. We no longer want to be a secret. And I know that we want to hold on to this coveted idea of ITSMF and being a family and how we hold on to that, that feeling if we're 1,000 people, 1,000 members, right? So what can our members and our constituents do to help ITSMF move away from being a secret? And I'll start with you, Ibrahim, and then Johanna.
Oh, certainly. So it's simple as this. You go on LinkedIn right now, you look for 5 Black people, and you send them the ITSMF link in technology and tell them this organization has been transformational. I'll tell you, this is eye-opening and heartbreaking at the same time. Every symposium I go to, I meet someone that's new coming into the community, and they said, I wish I knew about this organization 20 years ago.
Yes, yes.
Every symposium. There's not one symposium that I've been at that this has not happened. So, and what's interesting is when you see people who show up, who see someone that they know, and they're like, why didn't you ever tell me about this organization? So again, let's not, be selfish. Some of us may not want our boss there, right? Like, hey, this guy, I don't want him here. But, let's be sure to make sure we amplify the messaging around the organization and bring those in with us so that they don't have the same, concern that they weren't included.
Absolutely. Johanna?
Absolutely. I would say we have a growing and emerging speakers bureau. So invite us into spaces and places. Invite our leaders and our ambassadors on our speakers bureau onto bigger and bigger stages. Ibrahim and I were just having a conversation yesterday about our ultimate goal. We want to be a recognized, consistent commenter on Bloomberg. When we're talking about technology trends and we're talking about corporate growth, we want to have an ITSMF member who is tapped, and we're the go-to organization to source for these powerful speakers. And our intention is for our speakers bureau to be revenue generating, not just for the speakers, but for ITSMF as well. So utilize our speakers bureau and invite us onto the biggest stages that you have access to, especially those paid opportunities.
All right. Thank you both for that. So our first question comes from Shay. We love Shay at WWT. Thank you, Shay. If you are new to ITSMF, what are some general recommendations in navigating the network? And I'll pose that to either one of you all.
I'll start if that's okay, Johanna.
Go for it.
I've been tenured. So Shay, thank you so much, Shay. We appreciate you. Can't wait to get back out to St. Louis to see you and your team. I would say it really comes down to the individual. And we also have to appreciate that not everyone is like this A-type personality that just is a person that goes out there. So what I would ask is for our A-type folks, if you see someone who's a bit silent, just approach them, right? It's like any other party where you're the only person there and you may not know others. So if you could connect that way. Also, I would say we network with intent, right? So, you all know I always amplify Shelley Archambault. She really talks about being intentional with networking and understand how you want to contribute to those that are in the network. And trust me, it comes back tenfold. When Johanna talks about, I've got a million things in the air at one time, but I always make sure that ITSMF is front and center. It's because part of it is I've connected with so many people. I saw Howard Bush is in here. I saw Erica Moore is in here. Anytime that I need something, they're just a text message away, right? And to be able to do that, that's important. Let me share one quick story with you. This had to be around 2008, 2009. I was working at the Estee Lauder companies doing something, and we were having a challenge with marketing. I sent a message to Urban Bishop, who at the time was at Coca-Cola, and I said, look, we've got a CPG matter that's related to this, blah, 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 et cetera. He was my go-to resource, right? And so think about the value that you can get from the community, provided that you know the people in the community, where they work, what they do, and just, again, build some camaraderie and friendship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't have anything to add to that. That was great. That was fantastic. Other than I'll just say, expect a yes. That, this is a community of people that uniquely, if you're in the family, you want everyone to win. So don't approach it with being timid or afraid or thinking that you're bothering somebody. Expect the yes. Expect that if you talk to an ITSMF member or somebody that's been a partner, that they are already open to helping.
Before we get to Howard's question, let me offer this up on top of what Johanna said. So if you've been through the Management Academy, I know Dr. Turner has plagiarized me and said that he owned the SLA, which is okay. As an ITSMF family member, we have an obligation to each other to get back to someone who reaches out to you from the community within 48 hours. That is just a staple in our operating principles. Call it a service level agreement. You do it with your companies. You should be doing it with your families. So know that you have that. And I can attest, anyone that I text, they get back to me within 48 hours. And it's not because I'm Ibrahim, it's because I'm an ITSMF member.
All right, thank you so much for that. This will be our last question of the day. This comes from Howard Bush. Is there anything stumping the board or causing pause that could impact programming, financial growth, or membership goals? So, Ibrahim, I think that might be your question.
Thank you. And by the way, I know Howard too for probably 17, 16 years. Actually 17. I think Howard and I were in the same management academy, and we graduated in Minneapolis when Target was sponsoring us. Thank you, Howard, for the easy layup. So the short answer is this. I'm not going to say that we're stumped. I will say that the environment moves at a rapid pace. And so while we do have things under control now, we have to recognize that we are operating in a VUCA world, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and there's a lot of ambiguity in terms of what's happening. And so while we do have focus, we do need to be adaptable and a bit dynamic and fluid to market trends and changes, et cetera, to ensure that we're meeting the needs and expectations of our constituents. What I will say is, though, that should only make up for maybe 5 to 10%. We don't want the community nor the management team or the board of directors to be distracted with shiny objects, right? Just think about 2022. If the streets had it their way, ITSMF would have only talked about metaverse and Facebook and all this other stuff, right? 2023, oh, it's all Gen AI. So I'm waiting to hear what's the next one for 2024, which I saw Sherry Littlejohn said quantum is right on the heels of AI, right? So that's what we have to be mindful of, that, listen, things are always going to change. That's what remains constant. But I wouldn't say we have anything holding us back. We just want to make sure that we're adapting to the times, which is also a moment for everyone on this call in terms of your mental model. We don't want anyone on here suffering from psychological inertia where you're saying, this is the way we've always done it, because we don't want you to be the Kodak and Blockbusters of your career. And so we're always going to push you to do what's new and ensure that you are relevant in the workforce as well as in the community.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you guys again for taking the time out. And we see all of your comments and praises in that you guys are sending us. And we are so appreciative of that. Johanna and Ibrahim, again, I cannot thank you guys enough for sharing your time and sharing your thoughts with our attendees today.
Thank you, Sherelle, for spearheading this. You are amazing. Thank you. Thank you and the entire management team.
Absolutely. And I will see everyone at S1.
Absolutely. So if you guys are still here, I do have a couple of announcements for you all that we do not want to miss out on. So if you guys are still here, there is a QR code on your screen for our survey. So if you enjoyed today's session, or maybe you didn't and you want to let us know, make sure that you complete this survey. It allows not only myself, but our management team to make those changes and continue making sure that we are providing the best events possible. And then Johanna already mentioned that our S1 symposium is right around the corner, March 14th through the 16th in Atlanta, Georgia at the Intercontinental Buckhead. Registration is open and you can also book your room. So go ahead and make your reservations because this event is guaranteed to sell out. So do not wait until the last minute. Thank you guys again. Oh, and of course, membership. That's what drives ITSMF. So of course, if you are not a member, or maybe you've been a member before and you've been contemplating it, now is the time to be a member with ITSMF. So if you want to learn more about membership, of course, you can always reach out to Elaine Norman or membership@itsmfleaders.org. Thank you guys again for joining us. And I want to close out with a video which will wrap everything up for us, which is a recap video from 2023. So thank you guys.